Welcome back. This is going to be a quick video on measurement and cutting accuracy. If you find yourself cutting and your cuts are too long, too short, or you just want to improve the accuracy, these tips will definitely do it. These are things I've learned over the years from making similar mistakes myself. Tip number 1. Look at the end of your tape measure. This should be nice and flat. It's happened to me many times where I've been climbing, and you drop your tape measure and it lands on this end. You're going to bend this plate and this end here is going to move in quite a bit. Then next time you go to throw your tape on the end of a board, it's not going to be sitting flush. It's going to be out a bit and your board's going to be too short. Tip number 2, you buy your lumber, you throw your tape on, and you don't even realize there's a staple sticking out of the end here. Same thing, it's going to be too short. Always just check the end of your board first, make sure there's no knots or a chunk of wood sticking out or a staple. Tip number 3. So as you can see, this tape measure slides in and out a bit. And that of course is for a reason. So when you go to measure on the end of a piece of wood, you don't want it pushed in. Of course, and it's set up good where as soon as you put this in and pull, it's going to extend that gap out. And then when you measure inside a corner and put it there, you can see it moved in. And of course, the whole reason that happens is to compensate for the thickness of this slider on the end. So if yours is a bit rusty and seized and it's not sliding like that, your cut's going to be out. Tip number 4. When you're measuring, make sure your tape's straight. If you got it on an angle like this, you're going to be way out. Here's a good example. See, it's showing 8 inches, but it's not. It's 7 13/16. That's where I made that mark. Let's straighten the tape out. Right on. So it may not seem like it makes a difference, but holding your tape straight makes a huge difference. Tip number 5. If you're looking at the tape measure on an angle, and I'm simulating that angle with that pen, from either direction, it's going to throw your measurement out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab this camera and I'm going to simulate that by showing you. So you can see we know that marks a 7 13/16, but depending on where you look, this measurement change. So if you're looking on an angle, you could easily throw that measurement out. Let's look from the other side. It's a 7 13/16, but it looks like it's 8 inches. So it's very important to make sure that you're looking at this directly on. And if you're looking directly in line with the tape measure, you're going to be bang on. And tip number 6. So there's nothing on the end of the board. My tape measure is not bent. The slider's working. We're not looking at an angle. And you can see that mark is basically right in the center of 7 13/16. So now when I go take this over to the saw, I'm going to only try and remove half of this line and leave the other half. Because as you can see, 7 13 is right there, and that's right in the center of that mark. Let's go cut it. All right, so we got our saw set up. We know we want 7 13/16, and from what the tape measure said, we actually want to remove half of that line. So bring your saw down, and same thing, make sure you're not looking on an angle. Look right in line with the blade. And in this case, we want our blade on the left side. And if you're less experienced with these saws, leave yourself a little wiggle room, and you can actually leave it a little longer than you want. And just fire it up and just touch the wood gently. So as you can see there, I left it a little long. I'm right against the line, and I want to remove half that line. So we're just going to wiggle the wood over another 32nd of an inch, and then go for round 2. Now let's check our accuracy. And as you can see, 7 13/16 on the dot. Right on. Hope these tips help.